Greetings, everyone. I'm Zach.
And I'm Oscar.
And we are here with the episode that has so much stuff to cover that we're just going to stick to a few things here. But this episode, holy wow. There's just so much wow in this episode.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, we finally get the answers as to Whitehall's backstory. We get the whole conclusion to the well thing going on with Christian and Ward, which I think is probably one of the best highlights of this episode. And we got ourselves some interesting tidbits about Sky's father, but we're not going to delve too deep into that particular part of the episode because there was a major spoiler-heavy piece in that part of the episode, so we'll mention it or something, but we're going to get to something else in the meantime.
Yeah, definitely.
So basically this episode starts off with Coulson and the gang trying to find the ancient city that was mentioned in the last episode, and I think you guys already know what I'm going to say here. It's got to be Adelan.
Yeah, I'm with you on that theory.
Yeah, and to further prove this theory, before we started recording this particular review, we actually did some talking about what the possible identity of the city could be. And we threw around some names, and we discovered it has to be Adelan. There's just no other way it could be other than maybe a made-up city just for the show, but it's got to be Adelan because, one, it can't be Asgard because that would be weak. Two, it can't be Wakanda because that's either going to show up in Captain America Civil War or that's going to show up in Black Panther's movie. And three, Oscar mentioned this, it can't really be Atlantis because Universal, for some reason, kind of has rights to Namor. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bunch of legal issue there, so I don't think it's Atlantis.
Yeah, so it's definitely got to be Adelan. And to furthermore this theory, in this episode, the Diviner is mentioned by Sky's father to be the key to this city. Do I even need to say more about this?
I think not. I think you covered it pretty well.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get into the other part of this episode. The other parts of this episode that we want to talk about is basically Coulson, Whitehall, and the Doctor. So, what do you want to start out with?
Let's start out with the thing that you probably were most excited about, and that's the Christian and Ward.
Yeah, a few reviews ago, I mentioned something about them not going against what they set up in another episode from Season 1 called The Well. Basically, they mentioned that Ward's recollections of Christian trying to put Thomas down a well and trying to leave him there and yada yada yada. If you guys seen that episode, you already know what that episode is about. There was a flashback, Ward had it, his brother was in the well, and, again, yada yada yada. However, in this episode, they finally confirm it. Christian was a bit of a psychopath in his youth.
The whole family was a bunch of freaking psychopaths.
Yeah, so Christian's not exactly the good guy we've been led to believe, which, honestly, I'm actually okay with it. Finally, we get a resolution as to who was telling the truth about what was done to Thomas.
Yeah, and we get to find out a bit that it was their mother who tortured both Christian and Ward.
So basically, I'm just gonna... this might be an out-of-nowhere comparison. Basically, their family is Nuke's family. Yeah, because if you've read the backstory of Nuke, Nuke's parents were basically... his father was basically a pushover, his mother was just horribly abusive, and Wolverine was somehow connected to that. I'm not gonna get into it because it's another story entirely, but... yeah, the family's a bunch of psychos. Mostly the mother, I guess.
Yay for Parents of the Year.
Yeah, so... yeah, we're not going to say anything more as to what happens to Christian, because definitely you're going to want to watch this episode, but other thoughts on this particular part of the episode? I'm glad they finally resolved it. I'm glad they finally, came out and said, this is what happened, this is who's the liar. Good for this episode.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, let's continue on with Coulson.
Yeah, Coulson, like we said, is looking for the city. Again, Adelan. It can't possibly be anything else. Why do I need to say this? But anyway, neither here nor there. Coulson and Fitz and Trip go out to look for the city, going to Australia, trying to hack this computer. And they run into Sky's father.
Yay!
Yeah, and Trip gets injured in the shootout, and Sky's father basically, makes a quote-unquote deal with Coulson to help save him, but at the same time gets some information as to the whereabouts and the current location of his daughter.
Yeah, and he bargains with Trip's life.
Yeah, he's a bit of a psycho himself, but we've already know that.
Yeah, he's either really crazy or very eccentric.
Yeah, and one thing I want to mention here, there's a few fan theories going around that the identity of Sky's father is either Maximus the Mad, Black Bolt's brother, or Mr. Hyde. Now, it's probably not Maximus the Mad because Oscar debunked this when we were talking about it earlier, and yeah, I'm inclined to believe him on that, so maybe it could be Mr. Hyde because in the comics, if I'm correct here, Mr. Hyde has a daughter.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I can't remember if I'm right here or not, but one of these episodes had the Doctor basically say that Sky's real name is Daisy. And I think it was the episode with him and Reyna in the room together. I don't know.
I don't remember that one, but could be.
I'll have to rewatch the episode to be sure of it, but Mr. Hyde has a daughter named Daisy that changed her name to Chloe or something. I don't know what, but he's either Maximus or Mr. Hyde. He's probably more so Mr. Hyde than Maximus.
Or he is an entirely original character for the show.
Yeah. Either way, I don't care. As long as this proves my theory that he's related to the Inhumans, I'm happy.
Zack has just locked on to the Inhumans. There's no way you can get him to think otherwise.
I mean, yeah, I mentioned earlier the whole Diviner or the Obelisk is completely connected to it, so it's gotta be Inhumans. There's just no other way around it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, enough of my ramblings here. The last part of this episode, I'm pretty sure this is Oscar's favorite part.
Yeah, we get to see a little bit about Whitehall's backstory, and we get an explanation to why he is so young.
Yeah, and why he's been able to stay around for the last 70 years.
It had to do with some pretty gory stuff, and we actually get to see that he was incarcerated in the same SSR base as the current S.H.I.E.L.D. team is hanging out in.
Yeah, so apparently he's been sticking around in that S.H.I.E.L.D. base before S.H.I.E.L.D. found that base again.
Yeah, he was stuck in that cell from 1945 up until 1989.
Yeah. Also, Peggy Carter was in this episode, just want to mention that.
Yeah, and he says something very interesting to her when she starts asking him about a few artifacts.
Yeah, and one of the things he says, and I might be paraphrasing this here, blue angels came down from the heavens.
Blue angels, huh? If you replace angels with aliens, and well, there's only one kind of alien out there in the Marvel Cinematic Universe who are blue.
Kree, hint hint. And at some point in this episode, Sky's father also mentions that these blue angels, if you will, came down to Earth thousands of years ago, not to, bring gifts to mankind, but to conquer the Earth.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And if you know your Inhuman backstory, the Kree came down to Earth to turn primitive man into some sort of super soldiers. Didn't really go their way, and instead sparked the creation of the, say it with me now, Inhumans.
Definitely.
Yeah, what more proof do you need? Yeah, so enough of my Inhuman ranting here. This episode pretty much confirmed a lot of what I was hoping for and what I'm hoping for to come next. And it sucks I'm gonna have to wait another 2 weeks to find out whether I'm right or not. Even though I am pretty sure I'm already right in most cases of this episode.
Yeah, and also this is kind of funny. This is something that I thought of after I saw this episode. This is kind of like an Indiana Jones thing, where the good guys and the bad guys are hunting for the same thing. In this case, a temple or an ancient city. And the bad guy team consists of Nazis.
Yeah, come to think of it, this is sort of an Indiana Jones kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, but overall, despite my fanboyisms here, I have to admit there were a few things I found a little iffy with this episode, mostly in terms of editing. Like, whenever they went to, the whole flashbacks with Peggy Carter or Dr. Whitehall, back in the 80s or the 40s, it felt a little out of place here and there, but with so much of this episode being, really great in terms of finally answering so many questions I've had, I'm willing to let that slide.
Yeah, sounds about right.
I mean, yeah, that's just my critic side talking, but as a fanboy, I love this episode.
Yeah, me too. It was a good, solid episode.
Yeah, so comment below what you guys think. Do you like this episode? Do you not like it? And come on, guys. Inhumans. I can't be wrong about this. Come on.
He will never let the Inhumans go, the same way I won't let the vampire cow thing go.
No, I never will. So, until the next episode confirms my speculations and reachings, if you will, I am Zach.
And I'm Oscar, the great and powerful.
And we will see you all next time, sometime in December, because that's when the next episode comes out.
Yeah.
So, happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas and all that.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, later.